Why did you leave your last job? So that you could hire me. Why did you leave your last job tops the list of important questions that HR usually ask. In today's video, I will share with you 10 well thought out answers to this question and 5 mistakes to avoid while answering this question. As always, there's a lot to learn today. Before we begin, do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to get the latest update. So let's get started. Let me share with you one by one how you can go about answering this question. I've been with the organization for a number of years and wanted to experience a new environment to continue growing. If you had been at your last job for a number of years or more, nothing wrong with just saying you felt ready to move on. Maybe you learned almost everything you could learn possibly there, or just wanted to try something new. Those are good enough reason for leaving if you spent a long time within one company. Number 2, I was hired for a certain role, but over a time that changed and I was no longer being given the opportunity to do the work I was interested in. Jobs change, or sometimes you are hired for a job and what they ask you to do ends up being nothing like the job description. Unfortunately, this happens a lot. This is a fine reason for why you left your last job. It's very convincing and acceptable answer, even if you left the position very soon after being hired. It makes sense, right? You would leave pretty quickly if the job ended up being completely different than what the company had actually promised. Number 3, I was no longer finding the work fulfilling or enjoying my work as much. You stayed a few years but left because you didn't find the work meaningful or enjoyable. That's fine. Just make sure to show this new company that they are different, that they're offering something you would love doing. If you think you would find their work boring too, they're not going to hire you. Number 4, I re-evaluated my career goals and decided a change was needed. Goals and objectives change, and if your company doesn't offer something that fits with your new goals, it's fine to leave. There's nothing wrong with this answer for why you left your last job. Just make sure to show the interviewer that you know what you want in your career now, and show them that how their job fits into your career goals. If not, you'll be worried that you might change your mind after they hire you. Number 5, I didn't feel there was an opportunity to grow or advance further in that role, so I decided a change would be best for my career. If your company was holding you back, or if you were stuck under a glass ceiling, this is a nice way to say it in the interview without sounding too negative. Number 6, I wanted to take on new responsibilities that this role and company couldn't offer. You mastered the basics of the job and wanted to lead people, projects, etc., and the company couldn't offer it. So you had to make a change. Totally fine. The interviewer will understand and you will sound ambitious and motivated, which is really great. Number 7, I didn't feel the job was using my abilities to the fullest or challenging me enough. If you're bored or not being challenged, it's hard to stay motivated and focus on your career and your work. So there's no problem with giving this as your reason for leaving your last job. Just make sure you don't sound spoiled or negative or ungrateful when you say this. Don't make it sound like the job wasn't worthy of you or anything like that. Just explain that you felt you were capable of more and wanted to accept greater challenges in your career. Or mention a specific skill of yours that wasn't being utilized. Maybe you are a great salesperson, but they had you doing customer service. It would sound great mentioning this if you were interviewing for a sales job, because it shows you really want to do sales. Number 8. I resigned from my last job to take care of my family issue. The issue is resolved, so I'm able to work full time again without any issue. You don't have to go into a ton of details. Just keep it simple. Make sure you tell them that the issue is resolved thoroughly, so don't worry whether you will have to resign again. If you don't want to share a bit more information, that's fine. As a recruiter, I have talked to a few job seekers who had to take time off to care for an elderly parent or relative. So that's one common story I hear, and it's completely normal. Number 9. I had a great time in my previous company. Indeed, the learning was immense. However, I could not be a person who could abide silently to certain ethics which according to me were completely unprofessional. I tried sorting out these differences by bringing these practices into the notice of the HR. However, when I was convinced that my requests were falling on deaf ears, I decided to opt for a job change. Being a person of professional ethics, at times you could be asked to lie, or you feel the company is not providing value to customer or doing justice to them. A thorough professional indeed has a certain set of principles that govern the way their career is shaped. Interviewers do understand that and respect your belief if you are right. Number 10. I was commuting and spending an hour each day traveling back and forth. I would prefer to be closer to my home and use my time more productively. I've got you covered almost with these 10 pointers. Be prepared to face this question next time, and remember, nothing beats honesty. We're building a relation for life, and start with the truth. Next, let me just tell you 5 mistakes to avoid while answering this question. Don't give the impression that money is the only thing you care about. Of course, money is an important factor, but if you say that you're leaving your previous job only because you're getting a bit higher pay, it will leave an impression in the mind of the interviewer that in future, if you get a better pay from the competitor, you'll be the first person to accept it without considering anything else. Number 2 mistake to avoid. Never badmouth, especially if you are fired. Take responsibility and don't sound bitter or angry about the past. As soon as you badmouth, the interviewer will start to wonder what your employer would say. They will want the other side of the story. If you take the responsibility and sound like you accept what happened, you will avoid all that. Number 3. Don't say you had a fight with a co-worker, and definitely don't try to blame them for it. It's okay if you were fired or had a professional disagreement, but if you say you couldn't get along with somebody on a personal level, all the hiring managers will be thinking is, how do I know this isn't going to happen again if I hire you for my team? Number 4. Always be upfront and take responsibility. Answering why did you leave your last job when you were fired or had trouble getting along with your boss can be tough, and you don't need to say everything was my fault. But the interviewer also doesn't want to hear nothing was my fault. It's about finding a balance and showing you are responsible for your actions, and you try to learn from experiences like this. Number 5. Don't be vague. Especially if you are fired or laid off, try to be as clear and direct in your answer as possible and open up a ton of possible follow-up questions. Say the words you mean. I was fired. You will get through it much faster while building trust instead of suspicion. Pick one of the acceptable answers above for why you left your last job. Avoid the mistakes we just covered, and you're going to impress the interviewer and quickly and easily move on to the next question in your interview. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to get the latest update.